And there we are. So welcome to this live stream. I have a new book here that I wanted to paint on. And it's quite different from anything I've done before, as basically all of these books are. There's not that much to do, but there's a little bit of the forest and highlights and so on. So I thought it'd be fun to finish up this book with all of you. And that's basically what I'm going to do. I don't think it's going to take too long to finish this, actually. But I never really know until you start. So let's just dive right in. So what I wanted to do here is to do more work on the forest, and then to get those highlights from the river and from the mushrooms into the trees. So that we kind of have the feeling that we're further into the forest, just more branches than just an older forest here. So I kind of left out the last details so that we can do them here together. And let's just see how that goes. So everyone who just joined, welcome to the live stream. We're continuing on with the fantasy books for the fantasy theme. Most of them are almost finished, and I just kind of have some finishing things to do. I've never really done these glow-in-the-dark things and so on before, so there's been a lot of stuff to learn. I never done a nebula before either, and that was really difficult to learn, because it really works so different from anything else that I usually paint. Nebulas the rules are completely different than anything else. So they kind of glow from within. There are stars that are born. It's just a completely different way of painting because you have so many different things that you can do. So I did quite a lot of research before I attempted it. And of course, there's still a lot more things that I can probably learn. Let me just see if that light is a bit too... Yeah, this might be... Not entirely sure the best way to light this. And welcome everyone to the stream. And nice to see you. Nice to see you, Emma and Sugar Fairy and everyone else here. Thank you, Happy. I'm glad you think so. And I think this light is better. Although it does make it's very difficult to do this properly with black, because black is always a bit stupid when it comes to the lighting and how you can film it. There, maybe. There, my connection is... Hi, Emma. So my connection is a bit bad, apparently, at the moment. Hopefully it'll work. So yeah, as I said, I'm gonna try to finish this together with you guys here in the stream. And I just want to kind of really have this feeling that we're deep, deep, deep in the forest. Let's see, I can get a different brush here. So yeah, this fantasy theme has been a lot of fun to do. There are just so many different things that I can do now for this launch that I haven't been able to do, because I kind of usually constrain myself to realistic things. But just having a nebula here, I thought that was a lot of fun. And make the river glow and so on. Hi Vivek, welcome to the stream. So yeah, I've been trying to do these live streams regularly now. This is the third time I think I managed that, and hopefully I'll continue to be able to do that. I like having them regularly on Sundays at this time. So let's see here. I really want it to feel like a really old forest, and of course we need branches and things so that we can get the light from the mushrooms into the forest. So if we have branches, if we have things here, you can just have, for instance, we can just make a little tree stump. And then I'm just going to paint. So hopefully my connection is going to be better now. Let's see. So as I was saying, I'm just going to make a lot of black things first, and it's going to look a bit strange until we get the light from the mushrooms and the river into them. So we need the blackness so that we can go in with the highlights afterwards. So I'm just going around here and painting in branches and stems and everything, and then afterwards we can go in and we can paint the light on top of them. I did consider making light here as well, but I kind of like the fact that the only light on the landscape comes from the river and from the mushrooms. It's going to be really hard to go back after this fantasy theme to the more mundane, everyday sorts of landscapes. So I'll have to see. Some things I might even keep. I've always painted things in gold and so on the cups and on glasses. But for instance, these mushrooms, that's something that does exist. Nebulas in the sky that you can see with your naked eye, probably not. But our plan is to always have a theme for our shop launches, which means that every 2 months I change the theme and I'm going to be painting for that theme. So it's going to make it quite interesting to paint, I think. I heard you, Elena, were in an accident. Are you okay? So that's a good question to ask, because in, I don't know, half an hour or so, Elena's new video is going to come out, and she talks about the accident. So we are okay. It could have been worse. We came away from it unscathed, but it was quite rattling. It was an accident with our car. And Lena tells the story of the car and the accident in her newest video, which is coming out as we speak, basically, but probably maybe in half an hour, maybe in 5 minutes, I don't know. But there you're gonna get the whole story. So yeah, the car is not, we can't drive the car right now, but everything was okay in the end. So I'm really impatient to get I'm just gonna get my tea out here to start painting those highlights. But let's see. I need a few more branches and then we can start with that. So yeah, the reason I'm not going to go into the entire story now, because that's basically what Lena's video is about. And I think she told it really well. And she explains kind of how it happened, why it happened, and how it ended. Let's see here. This is the thing, when I get impatient, then I'm not really looking at the details as much as I should. So let's just start with the lighting, I think. So what I want is that the light of the mushrooms, and I want the river to... Actually, let's start with that. I want the river to glow a little bit more. As I said, I've never done anything like this before, so it's all a bit new. And a glowing river is completely new, so let's see if that actually works. So I know a lot of the effect of trying to make something glow really has to do with getting things around it to glow. But let's just get some of the kind of the highlights here. So what I'm imagining is that the water from the river glows the most when it's moving. Thank you, Rian. I'm assuming that's a good vow. So yeah, I decided, once I started with this fantasy theme, it was difficult to switch over. So it started with just a little bit taller trees and a little bit of light in the forest. But now that I'm a few weeks into the theme, I'm starting to get bolder. And it's becoming more and more fun to do it as I'm kind of starting to dare more. Hello, Andreas. Welcome to the stream. So yeah, I'm starting to dare more and trying out a few more things. And the more I kind of try out an experiment, the more fun it's getting. And I think if it wasn't for the fact that I'm probably we're gonna be done with the fantasy launch in 3 weeks' time. So there are limits as to how much more I can experiment. But I'm not sure. It will probably end at quite interesting places. Welcome, Nat. Welcome to the stream. Nice to have you here. I think you missed the last few ones. See, as I was saying, I am experimenting with all these glow things here. So what I want is for the mushrooms to really glow, and for that we need to have that's how it always is with magic, isn't it? It just pulls you in. Absolutely. That is very, very true, and you just can't help yourself. And I just love these worlds. That's one of the reasons why I started painting and started creating these worlds, is kind of the other world builders in the fantasy theme. And so it's nice to kind of put those images into life. Oh yeah, well, I'm so glad you could join us from the beginning. Welcome. Good evening, Pat. I'm just always going to call you guys the names unless I have specific instructions from your your words here. Welcome to the stream, Colin. I hope your live stream went well. I wasn't able to join this one. Well, it's nice to have you here, Colin. It's it's crashed a few times, but I'm assuming that your live stream is finished. So as I was saying, I'm painting for our fantasy launch this time, and I'm just decided to kind of let myself go a little bit more. And so this nebula appeared. I wasn't really planning on having a nebula there, but I thought I painted the moon so many times. Let's just have something different. And I'm not going to have a fantasy launch for a very long time after this. So let's just go for it. Wonderful. So and I love, this is kind of a mixture, I suppose, from kind of Avatar and some of the new space telescope photos, and kind of a Lord of the Rings feel, and just all different kind of fantasy themes thrown into one. So I've been trying not to copy anything from any specific world and just draw inspiration from all of the different fantasy worlds that I love. And this is kind of how I would build a fantasy world. So let's see. Okay, so we want the light from the mushrooms to be strong enough even to hit the trees and so on. Because I might do some glow-in-the-dark mushrooms even apart from the fantasy launch, but I think I can't really defend making them glow this strongly unless it's in a fantasy, because they really aren't this strong. As I said, there are glow-in-the-dark mushrooms, but nothing like this. And what I wanted to do some work on on them as well. I want them to glow much stronger from underneath. Let's see if we can make that happen. So if we have it almost white underneath, and then, yeah, as I said, the more I paint like this, the more fun it's becoming, and the more different ideas I have. And I don't think I've ever painted these many candle glasses, for instance. I'm painting on 60 candle glasses at the moment, because it kept coming ideas. And then I've been reading all kinds of fantasy books and things again to inspire me. So I'm through the entire Lord of the Rings series, and even the things that no one reads from Tolkien, and all the movies and so on, just to really, really get deep into this world. I've been wanting to paint. I painted for a while with glow-in-the-dark paint, so that this would actually glow in the dark. But I never really tried out making something glow-in-the-dark without glow-in-the-dark colors, just for this effect. And it's worked much better than I thought it would. So something like this. And then we're just going to do really soft highlights on different stones and everything. So you can see that the light is actually cast quite far off. Thank you, Ines. So I think well, there's still a bit to do, but not too much actually. I don't want it to be too full. Get this a bit closer. So the greatest danger if you get a bit too excited with a painting is just to keep going until you kind of just filled it up and a lot of the things are gone. Kind of the focus is gone. So I'm not gonna overfill it, I think. But we want the river to glow more. So what I wanted is that the river isn't just lit up from the mushrooms. I want it to have a little bit of a glow of its own. That's kind of what I like with fantasy worlds, is this feeling that it looks kind of realistic, but something is a bit different or strange or just more or bigger or something like that. The trees are just a bit gnarlier and and so on. I think often the term fantasy is just kind of how you used to see things as a child in a way. Because when you're a child, everything just looks magical. And when you're in the forest, it basically, everything glows and so on. I often think that children are basically always on LSD or something like that. Everything is just magical. And then creating fantasy worlds as an adult is kind of just getting back into touch with that magic that you feel as a child. And I don't think I ever really grew out of, well, I absolutely did not grow out of that. And I think a lot of, especially you follow us here, I think most of you didn't either. And I think that's just one of the things that is just so enchanting about fantasy, is finding back to that time. And if you're really, really in touch with it, when you go into the forest, you can kind of feel it in our forests too, because it is all magical. But sometimes we lose it. And everything just looks mundane. I think that's one of the saddest feelings that you can have when you kind of go into a place that used to be magical. So this is a specific fantasy launch, absolutely. So everything I'm making has this as a theme. So every candle glass, every cup, every painting, every book has a fantasy theme to it. So for instance, I have a marsh here, and this light, of course, isn't the moon or anything like that. It's kind of more like a wisp. And then I have something like this that I'm going to continue to paint on. Yeah, so absolutely everything that I'm doing now is fantasy themed. And that's what we're going to be doing from now on. Every launch, every 2 months or so that we have a launch, it's going to have a different theme. And everything that I paint is going to be in that theme. Such a fantasy nerd. That is very good color. I thought you might be. And I am too. I can't get enough of these worlds. And as I said, I've just read my way through all of Tolkien's works, even the Silmarillion and Fall of Gondolin and things that no one else reads. I love these worlds. So just having an entire launch just based on this, and actually being able to watch fantasy movies and so on and claim that that is perfectly legitimate. It is part of my job. It's just brilliant. So yeah, everything has this thing. And so for 2 months now, a few more weeks, I am completely immersed in these fairy tale worlds. And I mean, I read a lot of fantasy, and I always lose myself in these worlds. It's one of the things that I love the most when I paint or something too, is just to build worlds. So I love the creations of other people too. For the next launch, I'm not entirely sure yet, actually, what the theme is going to be. It's probably going to be a bit more decided once this is finished. I'm thinking flowers, because it's going to be spring, but I don't want a spring theme. It's just too generic. I want something much more specific. So maybe everything that I'll paint next time is going to have a flower theme, for instance. But I'm not entirely set, and any suggestions are welcome. Fantasy theme just was a very obvious one, because it's something I love, and it's there's so many things to do. Put on your work description. Absolutely. I mean, you kind of have to create your own dream job. They're not really listed. And this really just is mine. Watching Lord of the Rings while I make a living for a living is just brilliant. So there we are. So yeah, and for the cups, actually, I haven't started on a lot of them. So I actually need quite a lot more fantasy ideas. As I said, I've at least started painting and kind of done the main work on 60 candle glasses now, all with a fantasy theme. And cups are a bit different because they don't glow in the same way. So I'm gonna have to make them more the kind of Rivendell fantasy, mountainy, kind of the things that don't glow, so not in the dark necessarily. Maybe something about light and blooming. Yeah, maybe something like that. Yes, it doesn't have to be only flowers, perhaps. But yeah, some kind of a theme that just kind of decides the entire thing. And it's going to be for spring. It's going to be... This launch is going to be mid-March. That is not spring here yet. Spring is... so that's going to be March, April. So that's going to be May. So that's going to be truly in spring. So I think it's going to have some sort of spring theme, because I am going to be inspired to paint things like that. And I'm going to be inspired to paint new shoots and flowers and everything that grows, basically. So this is starting to get more where I want it. I'm not actually entirely sure how much more there is to do here. It might need to dry first. That must be a wonderful feeling, to make a living from what you love. Thank you. Yes, Candice, it is. It absolutely is. So, let's see here. I am going to switch up. This is about as far as we can get here, I think. And I'm going to switch up with another book. There we are. I'm not gonna have this live stream as long as I've done other ones, so I think we don't have too much time to do a lot. Here I wanted to get the light more in, so we have the light on the well, lake is the wrong word, pond, but to have it into the plants and to get the fog more lit up and to light up those branches and so on, to really get that light into the painting, I think. Yeah, and I'm having some battery issues. There are a few things to fix, but yeah, I think this isn't going to be as long as I've often done them, but we still have some time. So what I wanted to do, as I said, is to get the light basically in everywhere. So for instance, we can get the light in here. I'm just going to go around the painting with the white light and just highlight different things and then kind of see if I'm happy with it. So I think, for instance, we can highlight the tree a little bit. What I want, seeing as we are with the fantasy theme, of course, this can't really be it could be the moon. And I do want to avoid that. I want it to be clear that this isn't the moon. I've already thought about making more wisps. That this isn't the only one, that there might be some glowing things at other places. Maybe you guys can let me know what you think. Should there be more wisps? Is it good with just one mysterious light in the forest? Is it clear that this is kind of supernatural, or does it look like the moon? What did you guys think when you just saw it? Is it clear that this isn't the moon? What I want is to just have a mysterious light far off here, and it just looking a bit eerie, basically. In Norway, there is this painter Kittelsen who painted kind of from fairy tales, and he painted the most beautiful black and white paintings of all the different kind of wood forest creatures from myths and legend. It's clear to me, at least. Oh, very good color. Then I'm gonna trust that it is clear to others too. And he always painted these mysterious white glowing figures in the forest. Absolutely not like it was the moon. Okay, wonderful. Stunning, thank you. Yeah, and just this otherworldly feeling. And I remember seeing those in the fairy tale books when I was a child. And they were always so inspiring. He painted lots of troll paintings and so on. And just had always these kind of glowing things in the forest. And especially for this painting, he is one great inspiration. It was kind of the time when people started to rediscover the old fairy tales and the old stories and myths and so on. Yes, I think this can just really glow. And as I said, the more you paint, or at least I found, the more I paint light on things around the source, the more it glows. So often it's not necessarily the light source that's the most important thing, is showing that it hits other things with its light that really make things glow. So are there any ideas, for instance, for fantasy themed that I can do on cups, for instance? Or kind of. So what I have been thinking about making kind of a Hobbit landscape, but the problem is that often just looks like a really idyllic, wonderful little landscape, the things that I always paint. So what I kind of need are fantasy things that are obviously otherworldly. The white feels like a ghost version of Northern Lights. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, well, that is brilliant. That is very inspiring color. Yeah, something like that. Reminds me of the scene with the light in the woods from Harry Potter. Oh, wonderful. Okay, if those are the associations that you guys are having, then I've done my job. I'm very, very pleased with that. That is exactly the feeling that you should have. That is exactly what I wanted with this launch too, is to not copy, but to give strong associations to those different stories. And I suppose, I mean, Harry Potter is kind of our modern version of those old stories and myths and legend and so on. So if there are associations to that, and of course the wonderful artists that work on it, we don't really know the names, but there are so many wonderful artists. Could you do more of the darker, evil parts of Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I love those parts too. So absolutely I could. I have some quite dark cups and things, and candle glasses that I'm working on that are a lot more spooky and and evil looking. So absolutely I can do that. It's good that you say so. I often think that people don't want that, but that's not right, is it? I mean, I love those parts too. Hi, Susan. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I really, really like that. I mean, this is already a little bit. This is kind of the airy, kind of ghost feeling, not the Happy Hobbiton version. Also, definitely color. I can absolutely do the more darker, evil parts of fantasy. Any ideas of what's kind of dark and evil? I mean, of course, flames and something like that. Then you, of course, have the rotten, evil forests with kind of the branches that just kind of branch out and look like they want to grab you, for instance. So there are wonderful, creepy things. Welcome to the stream, Lynn. Happy that you could join. We're talking about what kind of fantasy themes there are. And Kala just suggested some making more creepy evil things from fantasy. Not just the happy, light, fairy things, but flames and evil mushrooms and branches that creep out. Your art reminds me a little bit of Caspar David Friedrich. Oh, wonderful, mystical and romantic. I love Caspar David Friedrich. He is my absolute favorite painter. So thank you, Canvas. That is a great praise, and not by accident. Christine thinks I'm weird for always going for the dark and evil parts of fantasy and stories. No, I absolutely get that. I mean, the dark and evil parts of fantasy is what kind of brings it to life, and it kind of creates the story, and it creates that feeling that we get. I mean, Harry Potter without Voldemort or Lord of the Rings without Sauron would be very boring. Something like Burned Woods, so the theme from Fire. Oh yeah, I need to do something like that. That is true. I have to do something like that. Maybe a little bit of a volcano, or it's fantasy. I need to just get a few cups and candle glasses and just truly find my evil side. There are scary fairies out there. That is very true. I mean, that's kind of the wonderful thing with fantasy too. You can just kind of live the things that you would never dare to live. Mordor theme, absolutely. Yes, I think that is true. I think that is right, Colin. I think I need to have a Mordor theme. Fumes and smokes and fire belching mountains. Definitely. Kind of sad now that I didn't do that with one of the books, but I definitely have some cups and candle glasses where I can do a Mordor theme. And just get all of the those things out of my system as well. Or even Minas Morgul. Oh, that is cool. Of course, the problem is that I don't paint buildings. But what I could do is I can kind of do an evil mountains in that glow. In that evil Minas Morgul glow. I think that might be cool. That green, eerie glow and just some really, really evil looking mountains. And then maybe a glowing lake. Definitely. Something like that. I see it. I'm already looking forward to it. The problem is when I get ideas like that, I just want to start right away. But we're doing books right now, and none of the books that I have are free for that. I need much more. But yeah, I'll get some things out and have a little Mordor theme. I'm going to be very interested to see who buys that instead of the happy fairy landscapes. I'm going to be very curious to see if that is gendered. It will kind of disappoint me, but I wouldn't be too surprised. Painted some mountaintops who started to come alive. Yeah, things like trolls. I mean, oh, right. I love that. Oh, and you should definitely look at the art of Theodor Kittelsen, who painted kind of mountains that could either be mountains and then you could just see the glowing from the eyes of the troll. Or Nøkken, which is a creature who would live here in the swamps and drags people under. So this is kind of inspired from that. So I suppose this is... I think it really depends on the eye who sees if this is an evil or a happy landscape. So that light can either be something happy and enchanting, or it could be something luring you into the water and dragging you down. I mean, I often find some of the coolest stories about evil are those where evil doesn't look evil, but it looks fair. And I often think that's kind of reflects our world much more often. That evil often doesn't look bad. It might come in a fair guise, and it might look beautiful. It might draw you in, and only later do you discover that it's not happy. Maybe a theme like Avatar Pandora with a lot of blue. Oh, absolutely. Although I thought the mushrooms are a bit Pandora-ish, but it depends on if you mean different Pandora themes. So maybe so I thought maybe some kind of either floating mountains I thought of, and so I draw different things that I'm going to draw inspiration from Pandora, absolutely. So for instance, the stories from Lord of the Rings about Sauron when he took his fair form. So I think, I'll be really interested to hear if you guys think this is is this a place where would you be scared if you walked here, or would you just be happy? I think I would have both feelings. I often like that, kind of a bit scared and still enchanted. I think often as a child you often had that with the best stories. You're drawn in, but also kind of scared. Welcome to the stream, Crossy. So as I said, I'm not going to have this for too long, the stream. But I am glad that you guys are joining me. So yeah, I mean, there are fantasy worlds that are just happy places, but I think often for me, what fantasy is this kind of scared feeling as well, which is just really a part of it. Because I think some of the scariest thing is the unknown. And fantasy has a lot of unknown, things that you aren't familiar with, where you don't know what's happening. More scared, like in a mortal landscape. How was this painter called? Theodor Kittelsen. I will write it. Kittelsen. Write Kittelsen Troll, and you will find it. This just makes me happy. Want to walk there. Wonderful. Well, there are very different takes on it. Yeah, as I said, I think the scariest thing for us is often just the unknown, and that is exactly what fantasy is. There are things that we aren't familiar with, which takes you out of your comfort zone, which yeah. So but the Mordor theme, that will be, I will basically just try to get out my evil side and revel in destroying a landscape completely. With I am looking forward to that. I think that's probably going to be when an actor gets to play an evil villain. And I usually honor my landscapes, but I will try to get out that feeling, that really, really, really evil side, which I have, and I'll get in touch with it. Let's see here. If you want this to be a little bit more creepy, since we're kind of in that mood, I am, and it's a bit empty here, could always, as a little finish, as I said, I think I'm just going to keep this going until 9. Then we have been going for an hour. It always goes so quickly, the time in these live streams. There's a reason they always go for 2 or 3 hours. But let's, as a finish until 9, make a branch which comes out from above, and let's make it into a hand. Now that doesn't have to be evil necessarily, and it doesn't have to actually be there to want to hurt you. But let's make it into something a little bit creepy. Or just really, really old. And then we can have some moss on it and just kind of have it reach out. So what I want to do as well is I want to fill this empty space a little bit, so that it kind of closes off and the focus is going to be here on the light. And for that reason I want something from here as well. And let's have this kind of come in from above. There is still a bit more work to do on this painting, but not too much, I think. I mean, there are always more things to do, but as if everything is kind of harmonized and The light, I don't want to make it too light here because that again takes actually something away from the light here. How come this changes everything? Happy to just sit in the audience now, no need for a walk. Let's see here. This doesn't need to be an evil branch coming down. I just want it, but I do want the forest to feel a little bit more closed. I might have gotten into I probably have to be careful here and not go all Mordor. Color kind of inspired me, and maybe I should stop painting here soon so that I don't make it into a completely evil evil forest. I just really got into that mood. I should probably get that out into a different painting before I go and just make all of them into I feel how evil it is. The grey colors are still so alive in this painting. I'm glad. Yeah, I wanted to make it really soft, and there are actually more colors I think than you'd think. They're just really toned down. Yeah, well, this is Color's fault basically. He got me into this more evil mood, and I think I actually was thinking that this should be a little bit more hopeful, but now I've really got into this kind of creepy mood. I'm already looking forward to exploring the Mordor theme. Probably I should get that out of my system and before I start painting on other things. Well, if I don't hear what you're saying, I don't find it evil and creepy, to be honest. Very good. Very good. I don't think it is either. I just wanted, for instance, this arm to be a little bit more alive than I perhaps would usually do, but it's old. It doesn't have to be evil or creepy at all. Evil can be a lot of fun. That is very true, and I think I'm gonna have to definitely make a candle glass and a cup or two where I just truly let that out. But I'm not going to do it in this one. I still tend to think that this is a kind of a hopeful light, but kind of eerie. So it's something I think I would be a bit scared if I just saw it like that. But looking at it now, I really enjoy it. And I mean, I think it still does look like a good light. Like it might be a bit scary, like Galadriel in the enchanted forest, but not evil. The bright grass is very peaceful. Very good. Okay, I'm actually going to cut this one. I say short, but we have been painting for an hour. And next time, yeah, we'll see how we do it. But I'm going to try to keep this going for absolutely every Sunday. And we have painted on 2 paintings now. So I'm so glad you joined me. And I hope that you will enjoy Lena's video, which is coming out about now. And yeah, reminds me of Galadriel's. Oh, very good, Gracie. I am glad. So I'm just going to clean up my brushes, and I'm happy again that you joined me for this live stream, and got to paint on 2 books. And yeah, when I paint, the time just goes so quickly, so I kind of have the feeling that we have only been painting for 5 minutes, but it has actually been an hour. And yeah, as I said, I'm going to keep this up. So next Sunday, I am almost entirely sure that I will be back. Okay, so till next time, and thank you for joining me. Goodbye and good night.